Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Film for Fans podcast, the podcast from movie fans for movie fans.
Yeah,
now that I can get that
out.
Yeah. All right. I am your host, Ryan Dunlevy. This is my co-host, Rob Dunham. We are back yet again. And we have an excellent show for you. We're going to be talking about the box office. We are going to give you our list of who's going to win the Oscars and our watch list. Rob, are you ready? Are you ready to break down the heart of cinema here?
I mean, we can talk about it, but I don't know how much breaking down I have to do.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, let's start off with the box office, as we often do. And we'll talk about the results from last weekend. And for the third weekend in a row, not a big surprise, The Batman came in first this weekend, taking in 36.7 million. It is now domestically at exactly 300 million, which is quite an accomplishment. It is the second biggest film of the pandemic, following, of course, Spider-Man No Way Home. So that takes the cake at number one. And the number two is very difficult to pronounce, but it's the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero anime movie. Actually had a pretty big showing this past weekend at 14.8 million, which is really impressive for an anime film. So really did a good amount at number two. Uncharted at number three at 7.8 million. X is the second movie that was on its debut weekend on the list at number four at 4.4 million, and Dog rounded out the top five at 4 million even. That film has made a total of $54 million. Anything that stands out to you in the box office?
Well, the biggest one obviously is that the Jujutsu movie came in at number two.
Yeah.
I was also impressed by that number, and it makes me wonder if we are starting to see, like, we've talked about this before with horror, like if a horror studio puts out a decent movie, it's always going to have a certain following where it's like guaranteed to make a decent amount of money, especially compared to the budget of what it took to produce it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if we're going to see that with anime too, as well with more of these releases, if there's like a built-in audience similar to the horror audience that we see when a movie comes out.
Yeah, I think you're on to something here. I think we've seen both wider and more releases as well as bigger box office numbers. So I think there's definitely a trend here with anime becoming a bigger force in the box office. I don't think it quite has the steady footing that horror does at this point, but you could definitely see that coming at some point in the future, and more of a market building for that. I'm wondering how much crossover there is. Is it because anime itself, the comics, are becoming more popular and the graphic novels are becoming more popular, and that audience is translating into theaters, or are these movies attracting clientele outside of the readership of anime? I'm curious about that, because you see that with superhero movies.
Yeah, I would think that it's probably a combination of both, because I think there's a decent amount of people who interact strictly with anime, the cartoon style, and not so much manga, the books. So
yeah,
but I'm sure there are some people who are into the manga who want to go see it on screen also. I mean, I think like you said, I think that's analogous to the superhero movie thing, because I'm sure there are some people who go to the movies because of comic books, but I think there's a lot of people who go to the movies just because they're invested in the superhero cinematic presentation.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was the box office results from this past week. Two main movies opening up this coming weekend. The first of them being The Lost City. And this stars Sandra Bullock, Brad Pitt, Channing Tatum, Daniel Radcliffe. So a big cast for this one. And it's a reclusive romance novelist on a book tour with her cover model gets swept up in a kidnapping attempt that lands both of them in a cutthroat jungle adventure. This one has been pretty widely promoted, so you've probably seen a trailer of it. That is The Lost City. And the second release is Infinite Storm. And this stars Naomi Watts and Dennis O'Hara, Billy Howie. It's a little bit of a smaller cast, but it's when a climber gets caught in a blizzard, she encounters a stranded stranger and must get them both down the mountain before nightfall. So kind of a little bit of a disaster movie type feel to it. The Lost City seems more like an adventure romance, you know, a little bit lighthearted feel. What do you make of these movies, and do you have a personal choice?
So I might actually see both depending on how time goes and what's if the Infinite Storm is in the theater near me. I'm interested in that. The Lost City looks fun. I've laughed when I've seen the trailer, so I think it would be fun to go to. Might be one I want to go to with my wife, so we'll see if we can figure out a way to make that happen. It looks like a date movie type thing. I find it interesting that the promotional stuff for this, the posters and stuff, just say Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum on them.
Yeah.
And Brad Pitt looks like he has a pretty cool role in this movie.
Yeah.
From the trailers. So, but it looks like to be more of a background supporting role, not throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, I think I love climbing documentaries, climbing movies, all that type of stuff. So I would be interested in the Infinite Storm. The likelihood of me seeing The Lost City is probably higher, just simply because it's possible my wife would be interested in seeing it. And that would make it easier, but we'll see. I mean, I think both of them look like half decent movies. The question with The Lost City is just going to be, is there enough plot? Like, is it just, hey, here's a bunch of stars in a movie that's a feel-good movie, or is there actually going to be enough substance to this movie? Is it actually going to be really funny? Is there actually going to be a story to it? That would be my only concern about The Lost City. Did we just, throw in, a bunch of big name stars to an movie, or will there actually be substance to it? I'm leaning towards yes, there will be substance to it, but I think it remains to be seen as to whether or not it's just going to rely on big name actors getting your attention. So that's where I go with that. So maybe, I wouldn't mind seeing both, though. I think they're both decent offerings for this weekend. Anything else to say about those?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, that was our box office update. And now we will turn to our discussion. And this week's discussion is going to focus exclusively on the upcoming Oscars, which will take place this Sunday night. And as we discuss the Oscars, I will first say that Film for Fans has put out our list of the best movies of 2021. And you can check that out at filmforfans.com. It should definitely be up by the time you hear this podcast. And you will want to see that because that is the definitive list. That is the list you go to decide what movies you actually need to see from last year. However, I guess kind of out of habit and perfunctory nature, we have to talk about the Oscars. And, they have this little award ceremony that they do for this every year.
Yeah, I think next year I need to find a way to try and watch as many of these as possible once they announce them. So I can be better informed. This is not that year. Yeah.
And let's talk about that, for example. Let's kind of start off with kind of a state of the Oscars type discussion here. What do you, it seems, and maybe I'm biasing the premise. What do you, I'll ask it this way. What is your current feel on the Oscars themselves? How relevant is it? Give your state of where the Oscars are at this point.
So I enjoy the show, but I think that much of what is put forward as the best movies of the year are not necessarily what people are interested in, and more so what just a few select people may be interested in. And since they are the ones controlling the ceremony, it is hard to get engaged with it. It's never going to be like the popular movie awards. But like the MTV movie awards, when they happen, like it doesn't draw attention either. So
Yeah.
it's hard to know. Like, I don't know if there's a way to make an award show parallel to it that actually people will care about, because this has become such a ingrained part of the business that it is the ultimate goal to win these awards. So I don't see that really changing.
Mm-hmm. Do you watch the Oscars when they're on?
I will say that I have not watched them every year, but I do often.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's the Oscars have become more and more disconnected from the actual movie fans, from actual fans of movies, actual fans of cinema. They've become more and more disconnected. They've become more and more insular. It becomes more and more about things that are not related at all to who actually made the best movies, whether it be demographics, politics, anything under the sun other than actually who made the best movies. And we see that especially when you get to the actual ceremonies. It becomes about everything other than celebrating the best films of the year. So I don't watch them. I usually check the next day and see who won, because I am curious to see who they picked. But increasingly, even the winners, even the nominees tend to not be connected that much to the actual people who watch movies. Then the winners seem to be disconnected from amongst those films who actually made the best film so often. Now you do have exceptions to that, and there are occasionally times where they actually stumble into something that represents a relatively close proximity to who actually should have won. But it's tough, and I think especially in a year like this one, and we can move towards our discussion specifically about this year, is you'll find that for almost every one of the categories, I would estimate 90% of people have seen 0 to 1 of the films nominated, or the films, the performances that any of these actors or actresses have been nominated for. And so I think obviously, when it comes to performances, you can have smaller indie movies where somebody gives a fantastic performance and it's worthy of seeing. But to have this level of disconnection from the actual common movie going audience, I think does not benefit cinema, does not benefit the Oscars. And I don't know. I think it makes a statement about where we're at. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. I agree wholeheartedly with that statement. I don't know if I have much to add, because I'm on board.
Okay. So we're going to go through, what we'll do for this one is we'll go through each of the main categories. We'll talk about the nominees, and then we'll kind of do who should win versus who will win. Now, this is part of the caveat. You and I are probably not the average movie watcher. We run a movie podcast. We care deeply about movies. We've been addicted to going to the cinema for a long time. Even we have had a hard time seeing these films, partially because they haven't been available, and partially because there really hasn't been the level of interest to go see a lot of these. Now, what often happens sometimes is, approaching Oscar time, some of the main theaters will pull in some of these smaller releases that are nominated to give people opportunities to go to. So if you do want to see some of them, check out your local cinema. There might be opportunities to go see some of these. But it makes it really difficult. So we are, in essence, what we'll do is we will guess. We're guessing at who gave the best performance and guessing at who's going to win. And then we'll kind of keep track of it. And as a bit of a contest to see which one of us is going to come across the winner at guessing on movies we largely haven't seen. All right, you ready, Rob?
You sure thing.
Okay, so let's hit it. First up, we'll do the main category, which is, of course, the best picture. Let's start off with right from the top. Let's start off with the best picture. And the nominees for best picture, there's 10 of them. The Power of Dog, King Richard, Dune, West Side Story, Licorice Pizza, Drive My Car, Nightmare Alley, Don't Look Up, Belfast, and Coda. All right, Rob, do you have a guess as to, well, who do you have an opinion on what should win that?
So just so I'm clear, because I'm not sure I wrote this down right, is it the Power of Dog or Power of the Dog?
Power of the Dog.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Obviously I want Dune to win,
Yes.
but I don't think it's gonna happen.
Hmm.
Because it's very hard for sci-fi type fantasy movies to win. It even took for the third Lord of the Rings for one of them to win.
Yeah.
So I think that it might have a chance when the second part comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it might be similar to the Lord of the Rings situation. You've said it's hard to really judge the movie since it's only really the first half. And I think that might play against it when it comes to being in contention for an award. And it's interesting that I believe in the release from the Oscars, it actually says Dune Part 1.
Yeah.
Which obviously was not the name of it when it first came out because no one knew if there was going to be more than one
This
part.
is true.
So my best educated guess is that Belfast is going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's black and white, it's period piece, it's related to like conflict between Belfast, between the Irish people. I see it being something that would draw the attention of the voters.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other suggestion might be Coda, just because I've never heard of it. So that means that they're probably gonna. But my official guess is Belfast to win the best picture.
Yeah, I'm right on the same page with you. It should be Dune, but like you said, sci-fi has a really, really hard time making resonance with the box office, with the Oscar voters, and the fact that it's the first half of a two-part movie. Aside from the fact that people actually went to see this movie, which always puts it in a negative light for the Oscars. If people saw it, people, there's almost like we can't give it to the thing that people actually went to see. I also think I don't know that the Oscars are ready to give Best Picture to a film that did not debut in the theaters. So I think that Don't Look Up is the insufferable choice if they wanted to make that. However, I don't know that they're ready to give an Oscar to a film that never made it to theaters, because that was a Netflix release. And so I'm thinking that one's out. So I'm going to go with you. I think Belfast has all the elements to something that will win Best Picture. And so I'm going with Belfast also. All right, let's move on to the next category, Best Actor. And the nominees are Will Smith for King Richard, and that was the film HBO did about the Williams sisters and primarily about their father. And so Will Smith played the father. Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos, Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom, Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth, and Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog. All right, do you have an opinion on who should win, and who do you think will win?
I don't have an opinion on who should win because I didn't see any of them. I know you saw Macbeth,
Yeah,
but I did not have a chance to see that. So my educated guess is Benedict Cumberbatch for Power of the Dog.
Mm,
just because I think that he is poised to break through in the award area.
mhm.
Um, and he win the Oscar for The Imitation Game? I don't remember.
Let
I
me look
know
that up
he
here real quick.
I know he was nominated. I believe he was nominated for that.
Okay, let's see here. I will look up. Um, Award nominated for 2 Oscars. He was nominated for Imitation Game. He did not
Okay.
win.
Okay, that was my recollection. So I think that when someone has been looked at before, I think it draws attention to their future performances as well. So I'm kind of leaning on that,
Mhm.
thinking that he might be the winner here.
Yeah, I mean, I love Denzel Washington and the Tragedy of Macbeth. It was a fantastic. His performance was awesome. I mean, it was a really interesting rendition of that. However, I have not seen Tick Tick Boom, but I've seen clips of it, and it looks like Andrew Garfield gave a really, really fantastic performance. I'm reminded a little bit of Whiplash and
Hmm.
that kind of feel, that kind of effect from a movie that did win some Oscars. So I'm saying I will go out on a limb and say that Andrew Garfield should win it, and Javier Bardem will win it.
Hmm.
Um, I think Javier Bardem is an actor who has won Oscars before, who has that kind of credo and credibility. So I'm guessing it's going to Javier Bardem. I didn't write down. You said okay. You had the same thing for me for Best Picture. For Best Actor, you picked
Benedict.
Cumberbatch. Okay. All right. So yeah, I'm going with Javier Bardem. All right. So the next category we have is Best Actress. And this is another one where I have not seen any of these films. And in fact, a couple of them I'd not even heard of. And that's kind of the state of where we're at. But the nominees are Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Jessica Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Kristen Stewart for Spencer. That was the one about Diana, and Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos. So both the actors in that one get nominated. So there must be something to it, I guess. And do you have any opinions? And who do you think is going to?
So I found it interesting, and I read an article about this recently. How Hollywood seems to be obsessed, even more so with lead best actress for some reason, with
Mhm.
people who play historical figures.
Yeah.
And so in this one we have three.
Yes.
You have Princess Diana, you have Lucille Ball, and you have Tammy Faye
Yeah.
Baker.
Yeah.
Um, I my thought, just based on, I think it will be one of those three, because I just think they like giving the award to someone who plays a real person.
Yeah.
And my feeling is, just with the emotional weight of it, that Kristen Stewart will probably win from Spencer. Is my thought there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm going to go with who should win it. It should be Jessica Chastain, because anyone who's willing to put up that much makeup on every single day to shoot this film probably should win something as a result. So my sentimental pick is Jessica Chastain on this one, but I agree with you. I think it's going to be Kristen Stewart. I think for all the same reasons you were talking about, they love people who play historical figures. Princess Diana was a beloved historical figure. This movie was talked about for nominations pretty much the moment it came out. I do think it would be slightly ironic for Kristen Stewart to win a Best Actress award, considering how many years of her career people have been talking about how she can't act.
Yeah.
So, or she's very wooden in her performances. So I do think it would be interesting and ironic for her to win a Best Actress Oscar. But I think that's what's going to happen. So we're on the same page on a couple of these here. All right, so let's go to supporting actor. Best supporting actor. The nominations for Best Supporting Actor are Troy Kotsur for Coda, Jesse Plemons for The Power of the Dog. Lots of nominations for The Power of the Dog. Ciarán Hinds for Belfast, Cody Smith McPhee for The Power of the Dog. Yes, you have 2 best supporting actors from The Power of the Dog. And J.K. Simmons from Being the Ricardos. As you see, there are a number of recurring themes from the movies here in these categories. All right, Rob, what you got for me?
Yeah, the good thing about maybe next year pursuing actually watching these is there does seem to generally be a good amount of overlap between like best pictures and who actually gets nominated for the acting roles, which would make sense.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna go with Ciaran Hinds, Ciaran. I don't know how to pronounce either of his names, but I'm pretty sure it's Ciaran, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Uh-huh.
With Belfast, he's a very established actor. Um, has been in a lot of stuff, and I could see him pulling it for this one. There's nothing else. There's no other ones really that jump out to me. I do think that Power of the Dog having 2 means that neither of them will win.
Mhm.
So I think that narrows it down to 3, and I just think that out of the 3, I would choose him to be the one who wins.
Yeah. I did something similar. I think it probably should be Jesse Plemons from The Power of the Dog, just because I think from what I'm hearing, his performance in that was quite good. It's kind of interesting. He plays alongside Kirsten Dunst in this, and it just gives me Fargo season 2 flashbacks. So that's kind of funny. But I think I agree with you. I think the fact you have 2 nominated from the same film, they would definitely split the votes on that one. And so I'm going to go with Troy Kotsur from Coda. I feel like that film will win something, and best supporting actor seems like the most logical way for the nominating committee to get that film an award. So I'm thinking Troy Kotsur is going to win for Coda. All right. And let's go with Best Supporting Actress. The nominations, once again, from The Power of the Dog, Kirsten Dunst, Jessie Buckley from The Lost Daughter, Ingenue Ellis from King Richard, Judi Dench from Belfast, and Ariana DeBose from West Side Story. What do you got?
So I'm gonna go with Kirsten Dunst to match with Kristen Stewart. So we have a Kristen and a Kirsten. And I think the combination of Best Actor from Power of the Dog and Best Supporting Actress from the same movie is something that's happened before and something that I would not be surprised by.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if Judi Dench won.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, she has an incredible cachet and history as actress, but I'm going to go with Kirsten Dunst for this one. Kirsten Dunst, whatever.
Yeah.
Kirsten.
I have that Kirsten Dunst probably should win it. I'm guessing it will be off the board on this one, and I will go with Ingenue Ellis will win for Best Supporting Actress on this one. Yeah. So I think that's the direction we are headed, but I think Kirsten Dunst should probably win it. All right, last category, Best Director. Here we go. Jane Champion for The Power of the Dog, Steven Spielberg for West Side Story, Ryusuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza. All right, Rob, thoughts?
So often we see the Best Picture and the Best Director going to the same person, and I have a feeling it'll be the same, and I think Kenneth Branagh will win for Belfast. I really hope that Steven Spielberg does not win for West Side Story. I could see that happening, but I hope that doesn't happen. I think it will be Kenneth Branagh Belfast.
Yeah, I think it should be Kenneth Branagh Belfast for a lot of the reasons you have said. Paul Thomas Anderson is always one who's always going to be in there. He seems to make some splash, but doesn't usually seem to win. Yeah, Steven Spielberg really doesn't belong in this category, other than the fact that his name is Steven Spielberg. However, I think they're going to split this up. I think this is going to Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog. I think they're going to fight with as many nominations as that has. I think you're going to see Jane Campion win for The Power of the Dog, even though it probably should be Kenneth Branagh. So that is my prediction, is that it will go to Jane Campion. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. My question is, are there any other categories that you looked at that you have a strong feeling about? Because there are a few for me. Because I seem to tend to have stronger opinions about the more technical things, because I pay attention to them when I'm watching the movies that I watch.
And I think there's a good reason for that too, because I think they have a tendency to get them better. They do a better job of picking the less quote unquote important ones. I do think they do a better job on that. So what do you got?
So original screenplay, I have picked Don't Look Up. I actually watched that last night. And I feel like how it was written and the current climate we're in, that it will get that recognition. Also cinematography, I think Dune needs to win that.
Yes.
I think it would be ridiculous if it doesn't win that, honestly. As we talked about when it came out, it's just the word epic.
Yeah.
Is what that movie is. Makeup, I will say that I think Cruella should win. And I was just really impressed by the scenes they set, the world they built in that movie, and I could see it getting the honor there. And then original score, I also think Dune should win. Just along with the cinematography, I think the music in the movie was also impressive and epic to go along with it. So
yeah,
those are the four that I saw further down the list that I had thoughts on.
I will say the couple I would have is I would say for what was I looking at here? For production design, I think production design, you would have a good case for Nightmare Alley on that one. I think that was really good production design. I'm agree. Cinematography, I think Dune should win by a landslide, but I think Macbeth would actually be a pretty good second to that one. In terms of what was the other one I was thinking about? Let me see here. Best sound. I thought No Time to Die could work for best sound potentially. But Dune would be another good one there, because there were some really good moments in that. But I think No Time to Die had some excellent sound. So that would be, and visual effects, I think that goes to Dune. Best achievement in visual effects, but also Free Guy is an interesting nominee in that one too, because of how they did it with the augmented reality. I think you could make a case for Free Guy in how they were able to build those worlds and make it very video game-esque.
Yeah, I think when it comes to sound design, there aren't many movies I watch where that stands out to me as a huge thing. But even just watching that in IMAX and hearing what they did with sound in Dune,
yes,
and some different scenes to portray tension or growth in the characters, was something that stood out to me. Like, it was recognizable. It was very intentional.
Yes,
and I don't think you see that in all movies. So I think that gives it a case to win for that.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Okay. So that's a wrap up of our Oscars. The Oscars take place on Sunday night. And make sure you go to filmforfans.com to check out our list of top movies in 2021. And yeah, go out and watch some good movies. And like I said, there could be some options if you want to see some of these movies. Check out your local theater. Some of them will probably be running over the next week or so. So go out and see one. All right, let's move over to our watch list. These are movies we've watched over the past week, and we'll give our brief thoughts on them. Rob, what'd you watch?
So as I said last night, I watched Don't Look Up. Have you seen that?
Not yet. I intend to watch it eventually.
Yeah. So it's on Netflix, and the premise of the movie, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence and many other people, the cast is phenomenal for this movie. They discover a comet that is heading towards the Earth, and the whole movie they're trying to convince people that it's actually happening and not made up. And it's very much related to and tied to what's happening in the real world today. And I just find it fascinating, like who has the information, who has the power of information. A couple lines that stood out to me. They're in the White House, and the president is played by, I guess you could call them a Donald Trump-like figure. She's a woman who was an actress and appears to have no actual political credentials whatsoever. And her chief of staff is her son, who's just her chief of staff because he's her son, played by Jonah Hill. It's hilarious. But the Leonardo DiCaprio says to them, the science on this is like 100%. It's 100% going to happen. And the president, played by Meryl Streep, goes, "Oh, nothing's 100%. You can't tell people there's 100% chance they're going to die." And then and Leonardo DiCaprio goes, "Well, actually, it's like 99.78%." And then Jonah Hill's character goes, "Yeah, so not 100% then."
Yeah.
It speaks to our culture in general about people trying to decide what's true and what's not true with any imminent disaster or thing that's going on. And the funniest part of the movie for me is they go to the White House. This is what I talked about online, a few places, but they go to the White House and they're with a 3-star general, and he goes to get snacks from the kitchen, and he brings them back and charges them $10 each for their snacks. And then Jennifer Lawrence's character goes to the kitchen to get water later, and she says to the lady in the kitchen, like, "Where did I put my money for the snacks?" And the lady goes, "This is the White House, the snacks are free." And so the whole rest of the movie, she, like, just at random points in the movie, she's just laying there. She's like, "I just don't understand. He's a 3-star general. Like, what was this, a power play? Like, I don't know why did he charge us for the snacks?" As this comet is like hurtling towards Earth and about to destroy the entire world, all she can think about is, why did he charge us for the snacks? I like the performances in this movie. Mark Rylance was also very good in this movie, and I recommend checking it out. It's on Netflix. Not a kids movie. Yeah, it's a rated R movie for a reason, but I definitely enjoyed it. I don't think it was a fantastic movie. Like, I personally think that it should not have been nominated for Best Picture. I think that's going a bit far. Yeah, with a movie like this, but I do think that the way it was written and the social commentary in the script make it a strong contender for the Best Original Screenplay, and that's why I suggested that it would win that.
Movies that are nakedly political from the outset just don't interest me as much. It's like, hey, here's this thing we want to say, and so we're going to build a movie around what we already want to say. I just, like, I have a hard time being interested and be like, okay, I know what you're going to say from the outset, so why am I watching this movie? So that's my hesitancy. I will watch it eventually, and we'll see it, but I do think
interest. I do think Adam McKay is a pretty good director. So I enjoyed the direction of the movie. It was interesting. They spliced in like shots of life on Earth, like bees and hummingbirds and hippos, and it reminded me a little bit of, and I wonder if he did this on purpose, but it reminded me a little bit of the Tree of Life. And I'm wondering if he was like doing that to, like, not mock that, but to be like, oh, look, I can be super serious too. Like, and I mean, the movie starts out with Jennifer Lawrence listening to the Wu-Tang Clan as she's looking through a space telescope. So it is intentionally off the wall and absurd that, obviously, in my opinion, no matter who the president was, there would be people around him or her who would be good advisors to them and actual political figures, not like their son as the chief of staff who just hangs out in the Oval Office the whole time and gets high and is an idiot. But Jonah Hill plays that character well.
That is basically the Jonah Hill character.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Did you have anything else?
That was I believe that was the only thing I watched this week as far as movies. I've been watching Dexter every night. So
Okay. Nice.
yeah, we're in the halfway through season 2 right now.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
yeah.
Very cool. I approve. For me, I got around to seeing Death on the Nile. And I very much enjoyed it. You talked about it a couple weeks ago when you saw it. I did very much enjoy it. I was surprised at kind of the slow build of it. They really spend a lot of time building the tension of the movie. And so the actual like investigation part actually comes significantly later into the film than you might think. And they really do spend a lot of time building the overall tension of the movie, the tension between the characters and surrounding the characters. Again, I always love murder mysteries, and this one has that similar kind of format, has that traditional format, but it does flip it on its head a little bit. And it's interesting to see one where for much of the movie, the character of Poirot seems a bit overwhelmed. And it's one of those where the one criticism I would have is it seems like he kind of pulls the solution out of thin air in the film. He pulls it out of thin air. Now, I mean, you can easily make the case like he's been building to this over time, and but they don't show that necessarily. Like, so that would be a slight criticism to it, but I did very much enjoy the film, and the performances were quite good. I enjoyed all the settings and scenery around Egypt was fun and interesting. So that's that one, Death on the Nile. If you get a chance, I would recommend seeing it. And the other one I saw is 10 Things I Hate About You. It was on TV this weekend, and I got to sit down and watch it. This one has grown on me on my list of like all-time favorite rom-coms. It's so 90s. It's fantastic. It's as someone who grew up in the 90s, it's like everything you remember about the 90s. It's like it's got the girl lead singer it's got the punk clothing. It's got all of that type of stuff. Like every single little 90s thing in there is in there. It's great. Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles. It's actually an adaptation of the Shakespeare play, The Taming of the Shrew.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a bunch of Shakespearean elements in that. So I just think it was a really solid movie, and I enjoy it. And the more I've seen it, the more I enjoy it.
I agree with that. Yep.
So just a solid movie. All right, Rob, you got anything else?
I do not.
Okay. Well, that is the show. Thank you for checking out Film for Fans, and make sure you visit filmforfans.com for all of our other content, and like, subscribe, tell your friends, all that good stuff. And we will catch you the next time on the Film for Fans podcast. Until next time, enjoy the movies.